It's another spotlight segment on Sweep the League. And, we've been bringing you guys like the mock draft guy, Daniel Kelly, former NFL scout for the New York Jets, and other first round mock writers. But we're going old school. We're going the reunion special on Sweep the League. We're going to bring back a couple of old hosts that used to be involved with Sweep the League before The Rock, before Candace, before Derek Irvin, before Shemaya and Stats. We're going old school. And no, I'm going to tell you right now, it's not Galler, who was still part of the new breed when we were at the radio station. We're going way further back. How far back? I'm going to tell you in just a little bit here. But first things first, the Spotlight segment on Sweep the League is brought to you by Special Leaf Teas. It's www.specialleaf.com. It's 100% all natural ingredients, no added sugar, 4 amazing flavors: pomegranate blueberry, tangerine ginger, the ever so popular hibiscus blueberry, and don't forget the original flavor itself. It's energy boosting compounds without the use of caffeine. It is Special Leaf Tea, the original olive leaf iced tea. Get yours today at www.specialleaf.com. So I can't wait to introduce the man, the myth, the legend, which I call Rocky that now because it just comes out. But this is the true man, myth, the legend. This is a guy who was basically side by side with me when Sweep the League was launched. And I'm talking, good God, 6 years ago, possibly, maybe a little bit longer. He was a part of the original Rated R podcast. Then it was a Rated R Sportscast. Graduated to Sweep the League, and he bailed on me when we went on the radio because he doesn't live in San Antonio. It is the coach himself, the Rambassador, Coach Gio. Gio, what the hell's going on? Did I wake up in 2015 or something? I mean, you're back.
I'm back. Unfortunately, the Rams were not back this year, Rudy. Very disappointing year for the Rams. Injuries, all that stuff. But we were talking about the Super Bowl. But I'm back. Coach Shields back. And I don't live in San Antonio. I live in the mean streets, Rudy. The gunshots of Chicago. So
I know you do.
I'm not over there in San Antonio, but I'm back. I took a little bit of hiatus. Not so much on social media. Just kind of take a little break. But it's good to be back on here. And yes, the Rambassador. I will say this, Rudy. I want to come on here also tell you, Danny Dimes, he looked good, Rudy, this year. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie.
Jesus, I told you. And for everyone out there, you got to understand, Gio and I were the very first guys, and I dare anyone to challenge this. We are the very first guys to run a live stream NFL draft show for the first round of the NFL draft. Nobody was doing it. Nobody.
It's a lot of work, Rudy. It's getting, I mean, we've got all the documents, the spreadsheets, and, watching film, all that stuff. I don't mind doing it again. It's definitely a lot of work, but it's definitely fun being on live and watching the draft picks as it go. But yeah, you were right about Danny Dimes, at least right now. The past over years, to be fair, he had Joe Judge. He's an idiot. And the Giants were the mess. But you bring Brian Daboll there, former offensive coordinator for the Bills. And, man, that playoff game, I know he didn't play well against the Eagles, but against the Vikings, he put on a show. I'm very interested to see what the Giants do because I think he's on his 5th year, or he could be on his 5th-year option. So I expect the.
Well, he's a free agent. He's a free agent.
So, but yeah, so we're back, and it's Super Bowl week, Rudy. You know what? The Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. I thought the Rams would be here, but we could talk about that another day.
No, we're going to get into that. We are going to get into that somehow because I can't let you off the hook.
If we're going to talk about the Rams, you have to talk about them boys in the South, the Georgia Bulldogs.
Okay. I was going to say no. You said the boys. I said no. There's no Cowboy talk. That season
No. Oh, no. Not Jerry. Not Jerry firing his offensive coordinator to now have Mike McCarthy as the play caller. Not that Cowboys. I mean the boys in Georgia, the Georgia Bulldogs, Rudy.
I will definitely. I have a couple of things to ask you on that because you and I go so far back that this tends to go off the rails sometimes. We're going to try to keep it on the rails. You're right, dude. Super Bowl weekend is here. We're talking Chiefs. We're talking Eagles. We're talking Mahomes against Hurt. We're talking about a brotherly matchup, which, of course, they're not matching up against each other. But you got Kelsey on one side. You got Kelsey on the other side. You've got old Andy Reid for the Chiefs against young Andy Reid on the Eagles side. There's just so much in this Super Bowl that is exciting. The only thing that's not exciting about it is there's no Atlanta Falcons, who I will say had a better record than the Rams this year.
Rudy, tomatoes. We both didn't make the playoffs. Does it matter?
It doesn't matter, but to go from what, first to worst, like technically.
To be fair, Rudy, our quarterback got hurt, right?
You're right.
Our quarterback got hurt. Offensive line was absolutely terrible. Whitworth retires, and a bunch of guys get hurt. We're getting guys from the street. We're getting guys from Burger Boy. It's like it's just these people are out here just randomly getting picked up from restaurants. They can't even play. The defense did play well. Aaron Donald missed 6-7 games at the end of the year. Sean McVay, which I do not agree with. This whole fiasco is if I'm going to coach, if I'm not going to coach. It just wasn't a good year for the Rams.
What is with that shit anyway? I mean, you coming off a Super Bowl, you had a bad season. I get you had a bad season. You had an injury-riddled season. Let's not lie. It was an injury-riddled season. And then you're coming out saying, well, I don't know if I want to coach. We'll see. We'll find out. What kind of chicken shit is that?
Well, I think from Sean's perspective, it's Los Angeles, Rudy, right? It's LA. This isn't El Paso, Texas. This is LA here. You got storylines run Hollywood, and Sean is kind of just living into that. Aaron Donald did this last year, Rudy, after the Super Bowl. Am I going to stay? Am I going to retire? What? He just won the Super Bowl. You're not going to run it back. It's Hollywood. They're kind of over-exaggerating these storylines. I will say, though, I don't see Sean McVay being a Bill Belichick, being a coach like a Tomlin that stays there for a long period of time. I see Sean McVay like a John Madden. John Madden only coached 10 years, and that was it. People forget John Madden was also a great coach because he did the broadcasting, right, and he did the video games. So I think Sean's going to be more aligned to potential of a John Madden where he just leaves the game. He might come back, but I see him in broadcasting after the Rams. He could come back. The money has to be right. We see Sean Payton coming back, right? They coached the Broncos in that mess. But it's Hollywood, Rudy. It's just kind of the whole script, dramaticizing everything. It doesn't make any sense. But I do expect them to be back. I think they'll try to do one more big run, Rudy. We'll see what they do in the offseason. They don't have much draft capital as they've been selling. But
thank you, Jeff Fisher.
You're going to hear it here first. Don't be surprised if the Rams trade Jalen Ramsey for some draft picks. I could see that.
They need to blow it up, dude. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and bullshit anybody. They need to trade their assets right now, because without any draft picks, you're not gonna win anything.
I could see them trade Jalen Ramsey. Bobby Wagner had a great year. Could they part ways and release him, potentially save some money? But I think Jalen is the key. They're not going to get rid of Aaron Donald. He's still potentially in his prime, though he was hurt for most of the year. But I think Jalen's the key here. If you can get 2/3, a second and a third for Jalen, because Jalen's he's still in his prime. He's kind of dipped a little bit, but they need a little bit more draft capital because, as General Manager Les Snead said after the season, the Rams are not going to be able to do a whole lot this offseason. So you're going to have to hit on those draft picks and also some of those young guys coming up. I do think they have one more run ready. I think next year they could get healthy, make a run, and maybe get back to the Super Bowl. It's going to be tough, though. But with Tom Brady's ass getting out of the NFC and Aaron Rodgers, who knows where he's going to end up. He said he's going to take a 4-day fiasco in a darkness room and figure out what he's going to do. Yeah.
What the hell is a darkness room?
Rudy, I'm sick and tired of Aaron Rodgers.
I know you've been sick and tired of Rodgers for a while.
I'm sick and tired of Aaron Rodgers. Also Trent Dilfer. But Aaron Rodgers.
Trent Dilfer?
What Trent Dilfer said a few days ago that apparently the quarterbacks in today's don't impress him. apparently the old school quarterbacks. Trent Dilfer, what have you done? The last time I saw Trent Dilfer, the Baltimore Ravens was carrying the team, carrying that defense. Trent Dilfer's stats, go look at his stats. I'm not very impressed by that, Trent. But anyway, Aaron Rodgers, I'm sick of him. Listen, he's going to come back. He's due, what, $50 million, Rudy? He's probably going to come back. Aaron Rodgers is just full of himself. He's just that type of person. I would like to see him in the black and silver in Oakland, but I think he probably stays in Green Bay. I know the Packers actually want him gone from what I've been hearing, but he's Aaron. But yeah, the whole darkness room, he's just – no one asked you, Aaron. No, nobody asked you about this. We don't care. Make a decision and just come back.
He either ends up in Las Vegas or he ends up as a Jet. It's going to be one or the other. I can't see him going anywhere else.
It's funny. I was talking to a buddy of mine. He says, so, when they hired
Nathaniel Hackett,
who did a terrible job with the Broncos, they hired him. He says, all right, Aaron's next. I'm like, well, you really think the Jets, a franchise that has been in the dump, I will say they're getting better, but that team would get Aaron Rodgers, even if they do, Rudy, does that put the Jets over the hump? I just don't.
Yes.
I just don't see. You think it puts them over the hump?
Yes. So if you look at the Jets, let's be real, their defense. I mean, their defense it's a style defense. I'm gonna get their stats for the defensive side right now. But I mean, if you look at the Jets defense, total defenses, it's trying to get that real quick for you, but
no, I mean they have some studs on that defensive side. I mean, they got Carl Lawson, Jonah Rankins,
Sauce Gardner,
Myers, CJ Mosley, right? They got talent on defense.
311 yards passing. They were number 4 on that.
No, I mean they have a defensive minded coach. They just got to get enough on offense. And I think, Rudy, if they would have just got enough, they would have made the playoffs this year.
But they didn't have a quarterback.
They didn't have a quarterback. I thought Mike White played well in certain stints, but I think Zach Wilson, Rudy,
he's gone.
I think he's done. I just don't think there's a point of return for that team. Mike White, when he came in that first game, he was doing great. Then he got hurt. He still played really well when he got hurt. They can rally around Mike White, but the Jets, I do think they're in a quarterback market. Maybe Jimmy Garoppolo, right? Jimmy G. Kyle Shanahan said he doesn't see a scenario where Jimmy G comes back. So could the Jets, a cheaper option, right, get him there?
I think for whatever reason, I had Jimmy G going to – see, I originally had Jimmy G going to the Jets, and I had Rodgers going to the Raiders. I had Derek Carr going to the Texans. Those are my 3, guys that were going somewhere.
The Texans.
Yeah, for whatever reason, I just feel like Derek Carr was going to go to the Texans. I know he's talking to the Saints right now, but yeah. I
think the best quarterback out if Daniel Dimes, if the thing about Daniel, I think he needs to be in the right situation, and I think Brian Daboll, as an offensive-minded coach, I think it just fits. If he goes to the Jets, which is literally next door, I don't know if that's going to work. Daniel needs to go to an offensive-minded coach. But you're right, Rudy. These quarterback situations, anything's possible. And don't forget, Rudy, about Lamar Jackson. That contract, they're probably going to tag him. I assume they're going to tag him. He's going to be very upset. Do they try to ship him out of Baltimore because they know it's just not going to end well? They don't want to pay him what he deserves. You should have paid him before, so that way it's not as expensive, right? It's like the whole Dak Prescott. They should have paid Dak Prescott 3 years before he was due. Lamar Jackson, that's something interesting to watch out for. I don't know what's going to happen there, but he wants to get paid.
I was hoping his name wouldn't come up in this conversation because he is linked to one team, and he's linked a lot to this one team, and that is the Atlanta Falcons. And I absolutely hate that move. I get Lamar, MVP candidate, and all that, but I've already went through the Michael Vick stage. It was great. It was fun. I don't want to go through it again. I like Desmond Ridder. I like the group that we have right now. But I also understand if you're going to get Lamar Jackson, they're going to have to give up their first this year. I don't want them to give up their first. There's too many defensive guys, too many defensive studs in this draft to give up
Rudy,
your first round
think about
pick.
this, though. You get Lamar Jackson in a division that is not very good. Remember, Tom Brady, quote unquote, has retired.
Yeah.
You know, Baker Mayfield left the Panthers. Sam Darnold's trash. I think, though, Rudy, you get Lamar, you're in the driver's seat to win the NFC South, as well as the Saints. The Saints have still a really good defense. And if the Saints get Carr, obviously, that's going to be very competitive. But if the Saints stick with Jameis or whoever they go with, I think the Falcons have the opportunity to really shake things up in the NFC South. And what I say, make them a favorite to come out of the South, maybe get to 10 or I guess we'll say 11 wins, right? So, I mean, listen, I get what you're saying, Rudy, but I will say the NFC is not nearly as strong as the AFC, and I think Lamar can have his field day in that side of the conference. Plus, with Aaron Rodgers, who knows what he's going to do? I think the NFC West is going to. I mean, the NFC is going to be wide open next year.
But answer me this: if you don't do Lamar to Atlanta, and say Derek Carr does not go to the Saints, can you legitimately say Desmond Ridder is the best quarterback in that conference, in that division?
I mean, yeah, because so Tampa's going to go with, I believe it will shake up Kyle Trask, right? I think he's the backup to Tom. Kyle Trask, former quarterback, I think of Florida, I believe.
Yeah, it's Kyle Florida.
So I don't know how that's going to work, right? And
Blaine Gabbert is their main guy.
Blaine
not
Gabbert.
Kyle Trask.
Oh, okay. Carolina has Sam Darnold and whoever else is going to be there.
Exactly.
I could seriously, and the Saints, that's an interesting thing. I do think the Saints are a talented team.
Andy Dalton is their guy.
Andy Dalton's a quarterback. I mean, I think they need to go draft someone. Taysom Hill, that didn't turn out too well, right? So Ridder with a true offseason, right? Your coach, all that stuff. I could see him be actually the best quarterback. He could be a better long-term success. Lamar comes in with some injury issues, and I don't know Lamar's mental state. But hey, if he's in a new city, I'm sure he'll be fine. But if the Falcons, if you're listening, if you have a chance to get Lamar Jackson, you do it.
Man, I
don't
hate
listen
you for
to
saying
Rudy.
That. I hate you for saying that.
Bring those tickets in Atlanta because we all know the city of Atlanta is some fair weather fans. They barely go to Hawks games. And Georgia Tech don't even get me started. So
Georgia Tech hasn't been relevant in years, man.
Hey, they played. Listen, they play in Atlanta, so I had to bring them up in this discussion.
There's really only one Georgia team that matters right now, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. But I don't want to. Don't get me wrong. If Lamar becomes a Falcon, I don't like it, but I'm not gonna fight it. I just don't want to give up that first this year. And I know that's the asking price is the first this year. I do not want to give up that first pick this year. It's just, I mean, dude, you could have a guy like Myles Murphy dropping to the Falcons possibly. I mean, they need a pass rusher. They need secondary help. This draft is stacked.
So you think, Rudy, building around Ridder, give him a few more years. You have an offensive-minded coach. Mm-hmm. I assume Ridley is not. But what's going to happen with Ridley?
He was traded. He's traded to Jacksonville.
Yeah, who was he traded to?
Jacksonville.
You're right, Rudy. I forgot about that. And I love if his mind is right, Jacksonville has already made the playoffs, right? So I think that's a really good.
Jacksonville is probably maybe AFC conference title game. I mean, they could make it.
They're gonna continue to have money they spent, and people laughed at them when they got those receivers. I was probably one of them who laughed too, but they sure proved everybody wrong, and they're in the playoffs, and they showed up. I know they didn't work out against the Chiefs, but they had a really good year. Doug Peterson, phenomenal year. But for Atlanta, if you have the chance, get Lamar. But I do like building around Ridder, and he's probably going to be the best quarterback unless Carr comes to the Saints, which is very possible. But I like the future in Atlanta. I didn't like it last year, but hey, sometimes things change.
Yeah, I get that sometimes things change, but man, I just don't want Lamar. A great player. I just don't think he does anything for Atlanta. Yeah, they're gonna win. Maybe, if they
Hey,
get to the Super Bowl, they're just
Arthur
gonna
Blank
lose it.
needs to pay for that stadium too now, Rudy.
Well, no shit, but you know what? What the problem is he has a Chick-fil-A in the stadium. When do they open that damn thing? It's never open on Sundays.
Rudy, I find that
That is the weirdest thing I've ever
Chick-fil-A
seen.
doesn't even listen. They don't budge, man. I have to
No.
give them this. They're one of the, and when it comes to fast food chains, I think they're number 3 when it comes to revenue in the U.S. I believe, but they're off one day. They still make money, and they won't even open for an NFL team. That listen, God bless them, but that is insane to me that Chick-fil-A won't even open for the Mercedes-Benz Dome. It's crazy, but yeah, Chick-fil-A is not even open in the damn stadium.
Who in the hell decided it was a good idea to put Chick-fil-A in a football stadium,
Well, I'm
knowing it's
assuming
on a
they're
Sunday?
open. Yeah, I'm assuming they're open for other events, but yeah, specifically Sunday, they're
What
not
other
open.
events? I mean,
Uh,
your whole
do
your whole thing
what do
is the
they
freaking
host?
Falcons.
I mean, probably concerts and other
So
random stuff.
okay, so they host what, the SEC championship game. So
They
that's a
do.
Saturday.
That's a
They
pretty
have
big
they
game.
have concerts,
Yeah.
but the whole revenue should be on Sundays with the NFL games.
We're the Super Bowl. They're not even open for the Super Bowl.
So if the
That's
Super Bowl
that's
was in
crazy.
Atlanta, then they
Which
wouldn't
I'm
be
sure
open.
it's going to be again. Yeah, that to me,
Oh man.
the Super Bowl. I mean, how much? And I get it. You know, their core beliefs and all that stuff. But even the Super Bowl, because Atlanta got the Super Bowl a few years ago. I assume they're going to get it again in a
Mhm.
few years because it tends to rotate. But yeah, it's just I don't know, man. God bless them over there.
God bless them, and yeah, I don't understand that. We're talking to Coach Gio, former host of Sweep the League, the Rated R podcast, Rated R Sportscast. Before we go on to Coach Gio's favorite thing, and that's talking about the Georgia Bulldogs. Got to remind you guys to go get your Special Leaf tea. Go to their website, www.specialleaf.com. Get all 4 flavors: pomegranate, blueberry, tangerine, ginger, hibiscus, blueberry, as well as the original flavor. Like we've been saying, 100% all natural ingredients, no added sugar, energy boosting compounds without the use of caffeine. That is Special Leaf Tea. It's www.specialleaf.com. Man, I know you've been following me because I've been doing a lot of these mock drafts, and I've got a couple
Yeah.
more mock drafts coming out too pretty soon here. I've got more team drafts that I'm doing. So I'm actually doing a whole 7-round entire 5-day damn mock draft that the actual
Wow.
NFL has. So I've got a lot of work that I'm doing, but you're Georgia Bulldogs, man. National champions. I picked TCU in spite.
Brody,
I picked
you
them
didn't
in
even
spite.
you didn't even tell. You should have told me so I could have trolled you after the game.
I know, and that's why I waited till now to tell you. Because I already know it would have been like, we need to have a bet. And knowing me, I'm like, all right, let's bet
Brody,
because
I would have bet that in a heartbeat. It would have been no thinking. Yep, sign me up for the bet.
But Georgia looked like garbage in that Final Four game.
To be fair, though, Rudy, Ohio State was a team that
They were the better team. Come on.
it's a matchup driven, right? They played Michigan
Yeah.
in Ohio State. The weather wasn't great. Ohio State didn't play well against Michigan, but against Georgia, the thing about Georgia in the past, haven't really played well against teams that spread them out. They tend to have problems. Every team seems to have problems when they get spread out these days in college football because you got teams in the Big 12 putting up 50, 60 points every week, it seems like these days.
Yeah.
But to me, Ohio State quarterback, which I think he's going to be really good in the NFL, he was just getting out. Georgia's defensive perimeter is not as good as it was last year. But hey, they gave it to us, Rudy. Well, you got to give it to little old Stetson Bennett, Rudy, the 2-time, and it's a shame that he's not eligible for the College Football Hall of Fame because he wasn't an All-American, but he should be. They should change that rule. That should have no bearing on a College Hall of Fame if you don't become an All-American. But anyway, Rudy, Ohio State, sometimes you need luck, Rudy. Sometimes you need a little kick here, kick there. And Stetson Bennett came back in that fourth quarter. Georgia was down. I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr., he's going to be a stud, Rudy, in the NFL. And
next year's receiving core is going to be
Kelee Ringo, who's I'm sure you have him potentially in your first or second round. Kelee struggled big time against Marvin Harrison Jr. Keely's he's had a good year, but against the elites, I don't think he's there. But shit, Harrison's really good. He did it to a lot of players. But yeah, Georgia just did not play well. We didn't play well in the SEC championship game, Rudy. LSU put up a lot of yards. It was empty calories, as Shannon Sharp likes to say, but LSU really put it on us. And Ohio State took some of that blueprint, and they really just took it to us. I really can't explain it. But if you thought that a Big 12 team, Rudy, was going to go in and beat Georgia, I'm not sure what you were drinking that morning. It could have been Kool-Aid with a little bit of cognac, or you could have had a few cervezas over there or something. But now I will say this: TCU, Georgia's not 65-7 better than TCU. Let's be real. TCU, they beat Michigan. I mean, they took it to Michigan, and they did lose to Kansas State though in the Big 12 championship. Alabama took care of Kansas State in that bowl game. But Georgia was ready to play, Rudy. And I remember I tagged you in that. Well, the pregame speech. Now, apparently Kirby said that wasn't that game, but they all sound the same, right? So Kirby was just living, hey, kill them, beat their throat. And to sit there, Rudy, and I kind of felt bad for TCU. I kind of was sitting there like, all right, coach. Rudy, they scored 2 touchdowns with the backup quarterback.
Yeah.
They scored 2 touchdowns when the backup quarterback comes in, and they're just throwing it, and they just went for the kill. But, hey, you know what? Props to Georgia. They came out ready to play 65-7, back-to-back national champions. Can they do a three-peat, Rudy? I don't think so. I don't think so because now who's going to be the quarterback? I'm not sure. It's going to be Beck. It's going to be Vandergraaf. It's going to be these guys they got some good players now. Some really good quarterbacks, some 5 stars. Some of them will probably transfer out because they want to play. But Georgia has some good quarterbacks waiting in the wings there. The running game should continue to be Georgia's staple as it always normally is.
Mm-hmm.
But for them to do a three-peat, if they do a three-peat, Rudy, I mean,
you're going streaking.
That's going to – I mean, listen, to win back-to-back is special, but to three-peat, that is just – I don't even have the word right now. But if they do a three-peat in that gauntlet, now people like to say that the SEC schedule that we have is fairly easy. And honestly, Rudy, if you look at the schedule, the only hard game really is at Tennessee. It's going to be a tough game. And Florida seems like they're losing recruits every day.
Yeah.
And we're not losing to Georgia Tech. So I don't know. We have a chance to get back probably to the SEC championship game next year again. So I don't know, but I'm just enjoying it, Rudy. Georgia's had before the 2 championships, Rudy, we were always losing the big games, and to get to back-to-back. I even bought a Stenson Bennett jersey. So
why?
I mean, Rudy, he's 2-time offensive player of the game in the national championship game, Rudy. He's forever in Georgia lore.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to be an NFL player.
Well, Rudy, I don't know about that, Rudy. I don't know. He might go in the 6th, 7th round. Give him a shot, Rudy. Give him a chance.
I have him as the highest 6th.
6th? Okay.
7th round. I have him highest 6th round.
Rudy, he's faster than you think, though. He's faster than you think, and his arm's better than you think.
He couldn't outrun the cops.
Well,
he couldn't outrun the cops.
I had to feel you would bring this up. Now, listen, everybody has their day, and it just wasn't a good day for Stetson. But give him a chance. Go to the combine, or I'm not sure if he's going, but I want to see him in it. Give him a chance. I'm not saying, Rudy, he's going to be the world beater. Give him a chance. Could he be one of those 10-year backup quarterbacks? It's possible, Rudy. I can definitely see that.
Jesus, 10-year backup quarterback. Who's the
Well,
longest backup
well,
quarterback?
Josh Johnson's been like on 50 teams.
Yeah.
So,
RJ Dobbs, maybe?
um, Benitez. Well, no, Benitez already wasn't a backup job. But anyway, props to Georgia. I'm not expecting a three-peat. I'm really not. I'm just going to enjoy the season. I do plan on going to the Tennessee game, and I'm definitely going to Georgia Tech game because the ticket price is going to be cheap. So, and it's probably going to be an ass whooping. But I will say this though, I like what I saw though from Georgia Tech in that game last year. They're getting better, and the whole recruiting thing has changed. And Deion Sanders, I love to hire for Colorado. By the
way. Okay. Okay. I will give it to you. I'll give it to you. I'm looking at their schedule now. I would say they're not going to lose, but they got some tougher games than you expect. And I'm going to give you one, and we'll talk about it more again. But one game you are looking, and they're not going to lose. They're going to win, but it might be one of those what's going on here games, and that's UAB. UAB is, I mean, with Dwayne McBride at running back, they've got a team. Now, it's not one that's going to beat Georgia, but it's going to be one of those games at the beginning of the season. You're like, what the hell's going on? And then Georgia will obviously turn it on and come through. Outside of that, I mean, maybe Florida? Florida, maybe?
I think Florida, Tennessee.
No, because Tennessee is losing everybody.
Yeah.
Hendon Hooker, Jalen Hyatt.
SEC road games. Listen, Georgia was down 16-0 against Missouri. That game, it was a rainy game. It was a night game. I don't think Georgia wanted to be there, but we had to come back to beat Missouri. And Kent State, who, by the way, their coach is now the offensive coordinator at Colorado. Kent State gave Georgia some fits last year. So I'm not going to say anything about UAB. We'll see when it gets here, but Tennessee scares me. That's probably the only game that really just sticks out. Who are they playing? Arkansas? Are they playing Ole Miss this year? I don't think so, right?
Yeah, they are. They got Ole Miss right before Tennessee.
Okay, so that 2-game stretch is going to tell us a lot about Georgia because Ole Miss is improving. I love what Lane Kiffin's done there. So I could see them losing to an Ole Miss, to Tennessee if they're not focused. They got Kentucky. I don't know, but I mean, we play Ball State. Listen, South Carolina is it's going to be a good schedule, some nail biters, but the quarterback situation, you just never know. We could have a year where we're not as good as we should be, but
you probably are not. I'm hoping you guys suck so I can give you some rip Georgia Bulldog moments this year. I'm hoping.
If we play Alabama in the SEC championship game, we could definitely lose there.
Oh, yeah, you can go ahead and just write rip right now if it's Alabama, Georgia in the championship game.
Well, they don't have a quarterback yet, Rudy, just like us.
Well, a lot of times they don't have a quarterback. Dude, they were plugging in these losers, before it's still winning national titles. So don't give me they don't have a quarterback right now.
Well, we still be playing North Carolina.
No, you don't.
No, I know. I'm just saying.
I was going to say.
We should. We should.
Oh.
You know what? Get Mac Brown on the line and say, hey, let's go play Georgia. We were supposed to play Oklahoma, Rudy. We were supposed to play Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And because
they bailed.
Well, because they're moving to the SEC, and yes, I think they also bailed too. And I don't blame them because it's going to be interesting though. Oklahoma and Texas moving to the SEC. It should help them though long term. I don't think it's going to help them in the beginning.
No, I mean it's going to help. It's going to help recruiting. I mean, anybody that is somebody who wants to have an NFL career, you're going to want to play in the SEC. That's the conference.
Quick thought on USC and UCLA moving to the Big Ten. Do you think because? And listen, I live in Big Ten country. Hey, I actually went to an Indiana game against Michigan. Are those teams going to fit? Like, if it gets cold, really cold around here, that during those last 2 months of the season, it's just interesting how USC and them going to the Big Ten, playing Michigan, Ohio State, Do you think it's a smart move, or I don't know? I just I don't know. It's
Quick.
kind of hard to tell right now.
So a quick thought on that is I like the move for USC UCLA because the Pac-12 it doesn't get a whole lot of love at all. And
No.
that's just a fact. But for recruiting standpoint, you're like I said, with Texas and Oklahoma leaving, the Big 12 going to the SEC makes sense. The Big 12 is a big pile of Debo shit. I mean, it's no good. So you definitely want to go to a power conference where you're going to be able to get recruits. Now as Texas, you can go into Bama country. You can go into these different territories and recruit saying, look, you're not going to have to just play in Big 12. You're going to play SEC ball. And you know what? We're Texas. We have big dongers like Bama does when it comes to money.
Oh, yeah.
So we can pay this much. Now, with UCLA and USC going out east, yes, I don't like it because it's the time frame sucks for them, but they're going to be able to showcase their players. Now, my problem is if I'm Michigan and these guys, I'm like, if we are playing in California, it's an early game. We're not doing this, 7:00 at night California time where it's 10:00 start time on the East Coast. That makes no sense to me. So there's got to be a stipulation in there somewhere.
Well, yeah, I do think the brands hold up, but traditionally, lately, Rudy, what is the Pac-12 or the Pac-12? They don't play any defense. I do think they may be exposed a little bit more playing a team like Michigan or Ohio State. They're more physical. USC, Lincoln Riley's done a great job on offense. Their defense, though, it was not very good. Lincoln Riley doesn't really worry about defense. Next year, from looking at the recruiting list, I don't see any great defensive players for them coming into USC.
Mm-hmm.
Both those teams defensively in that conference will struggle. And when you play a team like Michigan State, so they have it down here last year, Ohio State, Penn State, these are physical, wanting to run the football teams. I don't know if it was the right time to move, but like you said, you're going to a good brand, so we'll see what happens, Rudy. I love the Texas, Oklahoma coming to SEC country, but for those California teams that go out to the Midwest, that's interesting. And I think, isn't UCF going to the Big 12? I believe they are.
Yeah, I think they are coming to the Big 12.
So that's another team. And I think SMU might be coming to the Big 12 as well. So there'll be some reshifting of teams. But no, Texas, Oklahoma probably should have stayed because they would have.
But there's no respect in the Big 12. I mean, you saw TCU get into the national championship game, but then you saw what happened against big boy football. And I admit, I liked TCU a lot in this season. I really, really did. And going into Georgia, I figured, you know what? TCU, they've got Quentin Johnson. I mean, Duggan was good. I mean, it's like they had players, and I figured they're going to give Georgia a nice game.
When did you think, Rudy, that this game was over? At what
After
point?
The second touchdown.
Yeah.
Because when it looked that easy and TCU couldn't move the ball, I mean, the only time that TCU could move the ball was when the referee spotted the ball. And that's pretty sad. I mean, that was it. Giving them that extra half inch or half centimeter when he spot the ball. That was the most they could do when they could move the ball at all. In the beginning.
that fourth down play where Stenson kind of dipped and then he turned around and I forgot the linebacker's name, but he outran the linebacker for that first down.
Yeah.
When I saw that run, I said, this is going to be bad. Because now Stenson's kind of rolling. He's just kind of wheeling and dealing out here. But he couldn't get pressure. And Stenson, I think, had one of his best games ever. Which is crazy to say because he won a championship the year before. But enough about those Bulldogs, Rudy. Hey, shout out to AJ Green, retirement, former Bulldog. I mean, I feel kind of old because I remember him coming in from high school into Georgia, but props to him. I thought he could have came back, but a really good career. Real question, quick question, Rennie. Is he a Hall of Fame, yes or no?
For the NFL standards, yeah, I would put AJ Green in the Hall of Fame.
I would. I don't think he's first ballot, but I think eventually he'll get it. I think his stats are good enough. Unfortunately, he was hurt a few years, so kind of drawback, but I do think he'll get in. Not first ballot. I hate this first ballot shit because you're either in or out. But anyway,
Yeah.
Chiefs and the Eagles, Rudy, what do you think is going to happen?
So we're gonna end the show with Super Bowl picks. I'm gonna stick to my guns. I'm gonna say the Eagles win. And I know you hate it, but I'm gonna say the Eagles win. And I think it's gonna be a high scoring game. It's gonna be close. It's gonna be a high scoring game. But the way the Eagles have been playing this year, when they've had both sides of the ball just clicking, and then the injuries, if they are injury free out of both teams, I really think the Eagles are a tad bit better overall than the Chiefs. So give me the Eagles. And by the way, AJ Green, over 10,000 yards, 70 receiving touchdowns, 727 receptions. To me, that's a Hall of Fame number. Those are Hall of Fame numbers. 7-time Pro Bowler, second team All Pro, twice. I mean,
yeah. I think he has the Pro Bowls. He's got the All Pros. And in his era, he was considered one of the best, if not maybe some years the best receiver in the league. So I do think he gets in. I don't think Eli Manning should get in, but we could talk about that another day.
He's going to get in. Shut your mouth. Give me the Super Bowl prediction for the Chiefs guys.
This is going to be a tough one, Rudy. This is a tough. The Eagles, they got two Bulldogs over there. They got big old Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean, though I think they're backups. But this is actually a tough one. I jokingly said on Facebook, 31-17 Chiefs, and everybody was saying I'm drinking Kool-Aid. Someone wrote me, an Eagles fan wrote me on a message, said I'm crazy. I'm going with Patrick Mahomes. Rudy, my love affair with old Patrick. It all started in 2018 when I picked up Patrick Mahomes off my fantasy free agency, and he won me a championship. But anyway, I'm going with the Eagles. I mean, no, the Chiefs. Chiefs. Wow. Wait.
I was going to say, he doesn't play for the Eagles, man.
Wait. Sorry. Lord forgive me. The Chiefs. The Eagles, I think, have a better team. Because when you look at top to bottom, Rudy, they're really good.
Yeah.
But give me Kansas City. I think that Patrick Mahomes will come in and play a very good game. Andy Reid's going to game plan. You're going to have to run the ball, Andy. None of this, like zero set. That last Super Bowl that you were in, what happened against those Bucs? That pass rush, all that stuff. Learn your lesson, because that Tampa defense does remind me a little bit of this Eagles defense in a certain perspective. They're fast. They got a lot of speed. They can run up and down. So run the football. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I don't know if he's going to play. Pacheco, I know they're not a great running offensive line, but you got to run. But I think the Chiefs are going to have enough to win this football game. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to be the X factor. Patrick Mahomes and this running game, which if you remember, Rudy, in that first Super Bowl that they won against the 49ers, Damian Williams had a very good game. Could have argued he could have won the MVP, had over 100 yards rushing in that game. The Chiefs are going to have to run the football. Give me the Chiefs. I don't have a great score right now, but give me 34-21 Chiefs.
34-21. You got a low scoring. That's kind of terrible.
That Jalen Hurts might be exposed in this game. Steve Spagnuolo, former head coach of the Rams and terrible, former defensive coordinator of the Giants. I think Spagnuolo, after that last Super Bowl, which was terrible, this Super Bowl, he goes back to the basics, rush the passer, get after the quarterback. I think they have a good game plan on both defense and offense, and they get the job done. And I troll Eagles fans, which I love to do.
Well, we'll see if Coach Gio will troll Eagles fans after this game.
Or they'll troll me.
Or they're going to troll him. But, hey, we're out of time here on the Spotlight segment of Sweep the League. got to thank Coach Gio for coming back on to Sweep the League, the reunion tour. I'm pretty sure we'll have him on again at some point or another. Definitely got to give him some shit on some other stuff too. But before we go, we got to remind you guys again, go to that website for Special Leaf Tea. It's www.specialleaf.com. Grab one of those 4 flavors that they have on there, get them by a 4-pack, or go for the case, 24-pack itself, www.specialleaf.com. Gio, brother, thank you for coming on. We got to do this again pretty soon, man.
Yes, sir. We got the draft coming up, and baseball season. Those Mariners starting to get a little fitsy. Hey, the Mariners are now my second favorite team on my favorite sports team. You got the Bulldogs, you got the Mariners, and then you got everybody else.
You heard it here first. He's calling a World Series for the Seattle Mariners. So.
Let's go. Let's get it.
So, for Coach Gio, this is Rudy Campos Jr. until we sweep the league again. In our next Spotlight segment, which is going to be coming out soon here in the next couple of days, we'll see you guys again.